All right, everybody, away we go. Today, I know the day well because it is my birthday. It is March the 23rd of 2018, and this is the TRC sales training call. Looking forward to doing it. And one of the things I want to start off in the preamble here is I want to talk about the fact that we need to have some sort of a unique selling proposition that we can lean on a regular basis, and that is the statement, I have a plan. And I want to get that through to everybody because I want to talk about it today, because we talked about this in the last couple of weeks. Regardless of the context, what becomes most important is that you have a plan. And I actually have a lot of friends in business that watch this on Facebook as well, and they're beginning to realize. I was talking to this young guy who's in the car business recently because I'm in the process of going to lease another car, and I said, look, it's all the same. We're manufacturing an outcome, and that outcome is really about that happy past client. But the real point that I'm trying to make is that as you're manufacturing that, you have to go through some sort of a planned system. You cannot do this on muscle, because when you do, what happens is when the emotions in a transaction run high, you start to babble. You start to get all over the place. You get confused. The consumer gets confused. And now everybody's struggling to stay on track. And it's very, very difficult to keep this thing in line, this thing being your transaction. So you have to say to yourself first, I have a plan. That's the key. I have a plan. Now, in the context of buyers and sellers, which is the primary focus of the sales training call, your plan is the 7 steps. If you're hanging around the TRC, it's a simple one. It's the 7 steps for seller. It's the 6 steps for buyers. And really what I want to impress upon you is those are universal steps. This is not, well, let me just say this. I have a lot of conversation in and outside of this group about scripts. And a lot of people, including last week, somebody said to somebody that they work with, oh, well, he has a problem with the Mike Ferries of the world and their strategy. Completely wrong. I have a thorough respect and an ultimate respect for all those in this industry who teach. We all have a certain belief system. And I want to make it clear that what I am in pursuit of is the truth as to the way the real estate agent business works. That's all I care about. I really don't care about anything else other than that. So when I'm in pursuit of the truth, what that means is you're looking for something that's universally always there, right? That's what the truth is. Like, no matter what we do, we can't bend the truth. You can try to hide it and mask it and ignore it, but the truth is what it is. Things work a certain way. Now, of course, there's a lot of variables. It doesn't always work the same way. But if you're to chunk it up in any business, there is a process. And I'll prove it to you. You bring me one of your friends who's not in our business, I'll have him as a guest on this call. And what I'll prove to you is that that person is following a formula, whether they can name it or not. So let's go outside the business for a second. I was just telling you about these car dealerships that I've been going in and out of and frequenting. And I happened across a great young, he's 33 years old, great guy, and he was able to take me through a formulaic process whereby he was listening the whole time, but he was still following a formula. And how do I know that? We talked about it last night for an hour. I had an hour drive and we were talking about his business versus ours. And it was really interesting to see that he was indeed following a formula. Right down to the fact that when the product wasn't on the lot, he took me to a subsequent lot and he introduced me to products in an emotional way. Get in them, drive them. And he was watching for what I liked and I didn't like. So it was very formulaic. And I felt empowered. I felt like I was actually making the decision, which is very, very important. Because when you're making you will support what you help create. So if I feel like your formula is lifting me up to make an informed decision, what do? I really give you a lot of credit. And I tend to like you. So there's this whole thing of, I know you, now I like you, now I trust you well enough to finish this thing up. So as a sales guy being sold through this process, I didn't really love the other people that I met in this industry until this one guy, young guy, comes in, sticks to a formula. I can feel it. He educates me, and we get the deal done. Okay? And I'm not easy, right? I'm expecting not to be taken advantage of as a high D personality. I want to know the product detail. I want to know that you know that. So that all comes back to us. So the question begs, are you sticking to the plans that I'm giving you? And you don't really know that if you don't take it down a notch and almost listen to yourself and observe yourself. See, oftentimes we are so keyed in on being perfectly scripted. And that's not me versus this coaching program versus that. It's just the general idea of, are we memorizing something so that we can go in and regurgitate it and get a result? I get it. I get the need for that. And I am very much for a formulaic approach to keep everybody on track. But what scripting that's, I guess, polarizing, I think does, instead of universal truths about a business, it makes you conform your personality or who you are to that formula, and then it just doesn't feel authentic anymore. And we heard it last week on the calls where we were going back and forth with Lisa and Leslie. You could feel this detachment of a personal feeling for what they were saying. So here's where I stand to make it clear. No matter what business we're talking about, we have to always start with the authentic version of ourselves. The minute I teach something that feels like a compromise to me, I should question whether it's truthful, right? Whether it's truthful. Because when something feels off, I'm not saying fear. Fear is a different thing. But when something feels off and you're treating somebody a way that just feels not right, it's okay to question that. And I do that. I even have you question me, challenge me, because I'm trying to stay in pursuit of this universal formula. I have a plan so that when I walk in, I don't let my experience and my ability to teach at a deep level get in the way of the consumer's experience in that formulaic approach. I want to make that clear at the beginning of this call, okay? All right, so let's get into this here today. I want to open up the lines here. And remember, *6 mutes your microphone. If you are in a car and it's loud, please either turn down the volume or just mute your mic. I prefer that you all have them open so you can participate. But I'm looking for, I guess this week, if anybody has gone out and articulated these plans, and I've told you all the fastest path to do that is open houses. I've got 2 of them lined up for myself. You know, somebody said to me the other day, oh, well, you're doing open houses. You're wasting your time. Why? Why am I wasting my time? I'm still a sales guy in the context of my business, albeit I am the CEO. And it's not like my Saturdays are jammed with things that I'm doing as a CEO. So why wouldn't I roll right into a house and serve my clients the best I could, all the while being on the bleeding edge? I got that challenge last week too. So I don't know. It seems to be working pretty well. So I'm going to keep doing it until then. And I bring in my plans. Okay. So anybody wants to role play on this, talk about it, give me, some feedback that they're trying this. I want to hear from you. Don't go deaf mute on me when I open up the mics, okay? All right, here we go. Check, check. You guys good?
Yep.
All right, Alan, thank you.
Yep.
My mastermind members, you appreciate my high-eye personality. You know it's my birthday, so I'll be very lonely today if I don't get participation. All right. Who's up? Somebody give me an anecdote or a story where they tried this and, you know, something happened like that. Give me some feedback here. Go ahead. Watch this. I'm going to sit here in silence until I have a volunteer. Anita, you got your whole crew there. Let's go. Where are the ladies?
Hi, Dad. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Danny.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. See, now I'm basking in glory. I love it. Right, Laura? Laura's like, oh gosh, do we really have to go through this exercise? No, you don't. All right, let's get after it. Anita, somebody throw me, I'll do whatever you want to do. How about that? Okay. You're all so shy because you've all got this down cold. I know that, right? And then you go out there and you tell your team leader that I said this and I didn't say it. So here I am, ready to be challenged. And Lisa, I'll throw you in the hot seat. Last week, your perception was,
all right,
I conflicted with the beliefs that a Mike Ferry teaches. And what I would say to that is, that's not what I said. Okay. So what I did say was that if you're following a script that makes you compromise who you are, and on top of that, because that's happening, you're getting to become something different, you're going to probably confuse the consumer. So I want to clarify that for you, because what I do like about some of these script teachers is they're teaching you to get up off your butt and go make a phone call to somebody and try to bring value. I love that. Anybody who teaches a work ethic, let's chunk it up and say the universal truth, again, here we are in pursuit of it, is that you have to go out and talk to people in this real estate context. So the hustle for all those cold caller teachers and all them, awesome, love them. But it does come down to technique for me, and I do bristle when I hear this corny kind of scripted stuff that's doesn't sound authentic to me. Is that fair, Lisa? You get the difference?
Totally, but I want to explain that to you.
Sure.
So I'm glad you brought that up.
Cool.
That you do have respect for everybody else out there, because when I got off the phone last time, I felt like that's where I was most conflicted. There's good bits and pieces from so many people out there that resonate with me personally. So I wanted the freedom to be able to say, yes, I want to use your strategic plan. I want to use some lines from here. And partly where, you know, for me to come into this real estate world, I have to change as a person, as a salesperson, to the point where I've got to learn how to be a little bit more aggressive and go after these things, because now my competition is tough. I've got hundreds of realtors all competing for the same job. So there is going to be a transition period as I'm figuring that out and how to make these scripts and these plans all my own. But I like hesitate to say to people who are starting out on this, if it doesn't sound like you, don't necessarily give up on it. Keep practicing and figure out a way how you can make it yours.
Okay, well let me give you some guidance on that. I like it. Let me give you guidance. If we have a plan first, if we start with a strategic plan, and again, I wish I knew this 20 years ago because I went looking for a plan. I wish there was a plug and play plan, and that's why I have this Realty Classroom Endeavor. That's why I give it away free on Facebook. I'm hoping that it improves not only our industry, but business in general. So what I would say is that when you look at let's start that the goal here today in a sales training context is to say, we have two avatars or ideal clients we're looking at as agents, okay? We have, and I'm not going to get into agent recruiting at the moment because every single person on here is interested in working with somebody who will list their property or somebody who will buy a property. So let's look at the universal order of things. Let's not even call it a truth because it sounds like maybe it's a mightier or a higher than thou type of attitude. I'm saying that I believe, in my experience, which is long on both the sales front and the teaching front and the broker front, I found that the order of things was that if I didn't price a property correctly, everything else went to hell in a handbasket. If I didn't teach them about how to recondition their property, then they had no chance of moving up the ladder. I did a TV show with A&E and I was blown away by the transformation that staging could do. So at least moving their furniture around and understanding how that enhances value, I learned a lot over the years, so I tell them about that. Then and only then, because they usually rush us to how you're going to market my property, did I tell them it was appropriate to broach marketing, which I broke down into 2 digital age alleys. Hey guys, hang on. Sorry. Live mics here. Sorry. So now I arrive at marketing finally the correct way. I don't let them buffalo me into that spot, Lisa, right? So, and then we talk about once that happens, we have people coming and going from these properties, and that's communication, meaning between us, the buyers and the buyer's agent, so that we can make adjustments on any of the things I just mentioned. Marketing, staging, condition, or price. Whatever it's going to take, because that communication stage tells us we're off or we're on. And then ultimately negotiation is based in the very same math that we started with before we were ever hired, and then we have to close with care. I think you'd have a hard time, and I'll ask you whether you agree or not, explaining away the order of things there. Because the truth is, that's it. Now, I've been taught not to talk about pricing till the end. I don't agree with that. Okay? I'll just tell you, my own mentoring and teaching what people taught me, that's sort of like the surprise at the end. Well, do you believe I'm the right person to list it? Well, I don't know. What's your approach to pricing it right? That's what I would challenge back. So see, Lisa, there's an example of what I said is that, hey, I get it. That might be an effective sales technique, that I go and I teach them all about how I will do what I will do. and then at the end, try to get some kind of commitment on me and my ability before I get into pricing. I get why people do that. I just don't agree with it. I just don't agree that if that was the way I was standing in front of a crowd teaching them with no dog in the hunt, meaning I'm not here to get your listing. I'm here to empower you with information. I'm telling you that no matter what the rest of it follows, if I don't talk about price first, right, you're not going to be successful. So you can push back on me, and not just Lisa, anybody. I had a couple of hot mics there. Sorry, guys. Remember, just make sure your mic is muted if you're in a loud spot. So Lisa, would you or would you not agree that there's a universal order there I just laid out? Would you like to challenge it? Would anybody like to challenge it? Do we miss anything there? What do you think?
I agree on the order of things, and I think it depends on the client sitting in front of you. Like, I definitely think you need to bring up pricing because that's the most important factor in getting this home sold, right? So you definitely need to address that and bring it up. You need to be able to show them comps for the area and ask them, after looking at the comps and after, you know, trying to understand how important that pricing is, where they want to list your home. And then I can also see putting that in more towards the end as well and going back with them after they know what you're going to do for marketing and how you're going to be communicating with them. Then again, addressing that. So to find out that they are 100% sure that they're going to list their house and get it sold.
Okay. Anybody else want to?
I think it depends on the client sitting in front of you.
Okay, I'll bite my tongue for a second. Anybody else want to comment?
This is Jamie.
Go, Jamie, go first, and then Andrew. Jamie, go.
I see everything that everybody's saying, but you still have to take a systematic approach to it. So
Yep.
You're always going to tailor your discussion to the person sitting in front of you, you know, from a personalized perspective.
Yep.
And you're going, you know, each person's different, so you're going to have a different relationship with them, and they're going to have different wants and needs. But I completely see where you're coming from following a formulaic approach, saying, you know, this is how we do things, this is how we stage a home, this is how we price it, this is how we discuss, you know, all these different topics that are in our plan. Because ultimately it's your responsibility as a salesperson to guide the conversation down the path that allows you to get to where you need to be and get all your questions answered. You can't let them dictate where the conversation is going because you'll be there forever and people waste your time.
Good. All right, hold on, Lisa, hold on. Andrew, go.
Yeah, I would agree to a certain degree with what Lisa was saying, and you kind of have to revisit some aspects, I think, almost after the fact. In a previous life, I was in quality assurance.
Yep.
And we had a process that we called PDCA, which is Plan, Do, Check, Act. And it basically, you would make a plan, you do it, you check the results, and then you make changes along the way.
Right.
You do kind of agile reiterations. And I can see where that could be applied to this process, especially in regards to the pricing, where you can come in and say, this is the preliminary pricing. You know, I looked at comps, you know, I looked at the market and that kind of stuff. And then let's go through and we'll talk about condition. You know, what can we do on, you know, no cost or maybe low cost things to do. And then maybe, you know, revisit whether we should do staging. And then at that point, the house may have presented itself in a new light.
Okay.
And you may need to go back and revisit your price point.
Good. I like it. Anybody else want to weigh in on this before I say what I'm thinking? Other thoughts? Okay. So, number one, we've got this battle here that's bubbling up where we believe that there's a conflict between this formula that we have and its individualization for the human being in front of us. And Lisa's right that they both need to be considered. What I was biting my tongue on is I do not believe at all that it depends on the personality type. If there's a universal truth and I'm the expert and I'm honing in on that constantly, I'm not saying I'm 100% right all the time. I don't know what I don't know today sitting here. Even as a veteran, I'm learning these micro twists and turns about the business. And that's that open-mindedness. Always be learning until someday you just shut it down and you're not in the business anymore because there's so many variables changing any business. Let's just put that on the table. However, I'm asked to come in to compete as an expert for this listing. They're expecting that I'm going to present something clearly to them. And so my rally cry is, look, I have a plan. That's it. Just one simple line. I have a plan that I'm going to discuss with you. Okay? That, I have to own that. I have to be firm in that. I have to believe in that plan. And you all need a plan. Whether it's the plan I'm outlining that you believe is universal or not is irrelevant. I'm telling you, I'm in pursuit of something universal for myself as an agent, and more importantly, to give away to the entire industry and specifically teach all of you that are in the group how to do this. Okay? And until you imitate that, you're getting too innovative. And it's not, I don't believe it's a buffet table of choices out there from this coaching thing and that idea and this idea. I believe what it is we all have to find, no matter what we believe in, the formulaic approach to selling a house or helping somebody buy one. There's no doubt about it. If you do not get this priced correctly, all else is a moot point. There is no doubt that conditioning and staging, and Andrew's using our language, which I appreciate. Can they do low to no cost projects? Can they do big projects that have been deferred maintenance? Can we price those out? Okay. Both of those things affect value, because value is in the eye of the beholder. When somebody walks up to the curb, it's that curb appeal. That's condition. When they walk in the house, it's the condition and the staging that come together to create an emotional experience for that person, who then begins to make a correlated pricing experience happen. So there's just no doubt about that. It's just a fact of this business. We can't duck our head in the sands. Now, I don't know who's teaching you how to do your CMAs. I don't know who's coaching you on how to suggest properly what reconditioning should happen. Are you feeling them out and listening whether they can afford it or not? Those are all the subtleties that, you're right, are unique and are individualized. But I'm taking you through a universal process. I don't care who you are. Now, let me just go back further. And I want to say that before you ever go into this property, I'm also assuming that you've set it up correctly. Meaning, as you go through all of the setup, are you coaching them that, look, before I ever even have a chance at getting this listing, I want you to know about this. I'll send you a CMA. I've sent out 3 CMAs to just human beings who somehow happened upon me and said, can you just give me an idea what this thing might be worth? I had one today. I'm in a situation where, there's a lien holder on the property and we have to negotiate. No problem. Reached out to Serena, gave her the address, came back, sent it to him, said, here's what it means. Without me seeing, if you need me to come by, let me know. What do I owe you? Nothing. You owe me nothing. Just use it and remember the next time that somebody at least taught you that it was me, and you send me your referrals. That's it. So it's that universally powerful that there's nothing proprietary about what I'm telling you here. I'm just putting it in order and saying, you're not going to debate away the universal bone structure. And I'm an expert at it to a high level. Not perfect. Nobody is. But I'm at a high level saying, look, can you believe this? After all these years, I'm telling you there's a bone structure to this I could teach to a 5th grader, let alone this intelligent group of people. That's how this works. So now, if you take that out of order, when you're teaching them, and you could teach them in 5 minutes on the hood of a car. Look, it's pricing, conditions, staging, marketing, communication, negotiation, and closing. That's it. You are not going to get away from that when you go to sell your house. So here's my infographic. Consider it. Now, what is the situation? Why are you moving? What's happening here? And what's your perception of value? I would have done a lot of that before I ever showed up, Lisa. And Laura's sitting right across from me today. One of the key things should tell you that I harped on, do not let me go into this house without having a sense of what they believe the property's worth. Because they've already done that. They're on Zillow, they're on this thing, their friends told them, they saw the comp down the street, and they're most likely delusional on how to price something. So now I want to know what their perception is, because what I tell them is, look, before I come over, would like to know what you think it's worth. Well, that's why I'm having you. Yes, I know. And I have a pretty good plan for determining what it's worth. But I'd love to bring supporting documentation that supports your number, because that's what you want. So when I come over, I want to see if I can make that case for you. And if I can't, I have one of those going on right now. Somebody wants a really tall number, and the comparables that I have in front of me aren't even close. So now I have to go a little bit deeper and see what the absolute dollar buys. That's the individualization of it. And here's what will happen. If that price is so far out of the realm, I'm going to tell you, I can't get you that price. Because I'm not going to put myself and my team and my staff in a position where the universal plan is rendered absolutely useless from day one. Because all that's going to do is hurt me, my relationship in the marketplace, and my relationship with this guy that's gone on for several years. Okay? So that's the individualization of it. But the universal order of things, you're going to have a tough time if you don't take them through. Here's what to expect when you sell with me or anybody else, including yourself. Here, you're going to go through these steps. It's just what it is. That makes sense, Lisa?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to be clear, I wasn't saying that you have to bring it up again. I'm just saying definitely go through the steps, and depending on the person sitting in front of you and what their opinion is of what they want to price their house at, you might need to revisit it later in the dialogue.
Okay, well, you definitely, hold on.
With you on you
hold on, you definitely do. Hold on,
it.
let me say this. Let me walk through it again. I'm going to enter that house. I'm going to ask for the tour of the property so I can gauge not only the condition of the property and its staging and all that stuff, but I'm also gauging the type of person that I'm about to sit down with and express my plan. The next beat is when we hit the table. Hey, thanks again, but before I go over my plan, what's most important to you? Is there anything you're worried about? So I'm going to listen, because no matter what you tell me, I know it's going to fit into one of these modules in the plan. Give me an example. Somebody give me an example. What worries you most about selling your house? Throw something at me. Anybody. Anybody. Come on.
Getting the full value.
Yeah. Getting the full value? Wonderful. What is the full value? You mean the price that you told Laura before I came over, Patrick? Is that what you mean?
Well, whatever. I just want to make sure, because, I understand that I'm not a real estate professional. I kind of have an idea of where I think it might sell. I'm just talking about, when I entrust you with this listing, I want to just know that, you're going to take me all the way to the top.
Okay, great. So you're hoping that my plan will take you to the best number that you can achieve in this marketplace. Is that a fair way to re-summarize what you just said?
Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. We are definitely going to talk about the trading range based on math, and then I'm going to educate you via my plan how you can help me increase the value in the current marketplace. So that's included here. Somebody else give me another one. You see, that was pricing that he wants to know about, but I relate it to the other ways that it will affect, pricing. Give me another one. Somebody give me another one.
Giving enough money is
place to go.
Move on to the next house.
Kate first, and then Chris. Kate, go.
Giving enough money so that you can move on to the next house, and also coinciding the sale with a purchase.
Yeah, perfect. Well, the good news for you, Kate, is that we have two plans. So depending on what you want to do first, we may have to sit down and talk about the buyer plan first, because I think representing you in the field as a buyer, that's the first step. And then getting you pre-qualified based on what we think you'll net on the sell side, it's all math and it'll all come together. So now when we sit down, let me just ask you, is buying first more important to you, Kate? Or at least understanding what you could buy? Or is getting your house organized for sale more important? Which one?
Well, I have to sell it in order to buy.
Okay.
So I guess what's making me most nervous is, will I have enough to put down on the next property? And also, is my offer, can I buy with this house as well? Or will a home sale contingency really ruin my chances in such a hot market?
Great. Well, first of all, Kate, don't worry that much about it all, because there's a very formulaic approach and we do it all the time. So the first thing that we're going to do is when we go through the plan, we're going to talk, we'll put a heavy emphasis not on just the pricing range, but from a high to a low potential sale. Then we'll take out all the cost of sale and see what range you might net after everything's paid off, commissions, tax and deed stamps, mortgages, etc. We'll take a look at that, what that net number is. Then, shifting over to the buy side, we'll coordinate with the mortgage broker to see, with that sort of a range of down deposit, your credit score, etc., we'll get that pre-qualification, which is step number 2, as we begin to represent you on the buy side, all in order. Don't worry about the logistics of the sale. That's no problem. We'll write contracts to protect you. So in these two plans, the two biggest beats that I'm going to cover for you tonight is when we talk about the listing plan, not only will we finish with going over what it'll sell for, we'll do a net sheet. That's what we call it, Kate. So you'll see potentially what you could walk away with. And then when we talk about the buy side, we'll talk about how that relates to what you could buy. And then, of course, we'll set you up with sold properties so you see, after all that math, what could the new amount of money plus the mortgage really buy? Does that make sense, Kate?
Totally. That's
okay.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Next, go ahead, Egan. Give me that one you had there.
Yeah, well, I'm just afraid of having a place to go. You know, things are moving so quickly, and getting mine sold, you know, we put ours in the market, we get a bunch of offers, then where are we going to go? There's just so few choices out there.
So, Chris, it sounds more to me that you're more worried about the buy side than the sell side. Is that a fair reiteration of what you're asking?
Yeah, but I don't want to make two mortgage payments. I mean, I really don't even know if I qualify to make two mortgage payments.
Yeah.
But, you know, so how do we line it up?
Perfect. Well, the good news is that that's not going to happen on my watch, okay? It's never happened because we would always be writing a contingency even if we needed it. Maybe we don't. That your purchase would be predicated on a simultaneous closing with your sale. So I can just end that worry right there. That would be all worked into the contract. There's no doubt about it. Now, let's talk about the buy side because you're right. It's a hot market. So it's less of a challenge, especially with my plan, to sell your property for top dollar. It's more of a challenge to take you into the marketplace where you do have to sell to buy. If that's the case, it is a little bit more challenging there. So we want to get the sell side going, but I can protect you. It's not like you're going to get kicked out of the house. So it would be cheating a little bit to the high side of the price range anyway. And then what we would be doing is simultaneously looking at properties. But again, it's all included in the plan because on the buy side, once we're good with the math, and the financing is in place, then you and I are going to look online at what's sold for the money you'd be spending. And because it's hot, we might be cheating a little bit lower on the asking price because things are getting bid up. And we'll talk about how that, happens in the buy side plan. That make sense?
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, are we going to be able to get sellers to go for that? To go for a closing on a contingency on closing?
As long as we are in the process of selling your house, there's good action on your house, and I'm close to an offer, it's much easier for me to sell it to the sell side. And I know that you think it's a white-hot market, but let me tell you something. Even in white-hot markets, there are a lot of overpriced listings out there that don't sell as quickly as you perceive them to be. That might be one of our better targets, given that we have a simultaneous closing that we have to get with. So again, I've done this multiple times. It's just a matter of getting out there. But I do want to go back and say one thing. You are not going to get displaced ever on my watch. We are not going to put another house under contract unless it includes a simultaneous close. So it's really just a matter of getting out there. And again, I get it. The train's moving 100 miles an hour when we first get in. But as we go through this process following these plans, you'll see very clearly the properties that don't require some rushed decision. Does that make sense?
Got it. Yep.
Okay. And I mean, we could keep going, Chris, depending on how anxious somebody is, but I'm going to keep what I'm doing and I'm holding them right, by my side. So I'm pretending I'm sitting here face to face with you. And these would be turned around to you and Kate, who both had a buy-sell situation. Which side of this is more important to you? Are you more worried about the buy side? Then let's cover that plan first. But it is predicated on how much I'll net. No problem. That's in the seller plan. When we look at the pricing at right range, we talk about what you will or will not do. We're going to have a pretty good idea after a net sheet what you'll walk away with and how that relates to your pre-qualification to purchase. But what about the logistics? Aren't I going to get kicked out of the house? Will the sellers take it? That's why you're going to hire me. Because I'm the guy with a plan, and I'm not worried about that. I've never not been able to pull this off regardless of market circumstances. So see, when I believe in my plans, I have that enthusiasm that I'll solve whatever the problem is. You're most worried that you're going to sell, and you have this delusion in your mind that you're going to get kicked out. It's never going to happen unless you go with the wrong person who doesn't protect you. The agent and the attorney or whomever else is tasked with protecting your situation. That's the only circumstances under which that could happen. But I'm here to make sure that doesn't happen, and I'm telling you right up front before you hire me. So I think it's leaning in to that fear or that anxiety that they have and saying, look, that doesn't have to happen. Here's the simple solution to that. It's a home sale, but they won't take it. How do you know that? Do you know how many expired listings there are, even in a hot market? We're going to go after overpriced listings. You remember that buy plan? The number one thing that I'm going to do as your representative is look at a property that's overpriced, been on the market too long. In fact, I might add expireds and withdrawns in there. There's some fabulous deals in there. These people are motivated. They're just priced incorrectly. And as long as I come in and make the case correctly by doing an analysis on what you're buying the same way I'm doing on what you're selling, I'll make the case. You let me worry about that. And in the meantime, as long as you're up for the challenge and you're motivated on a scale of 1 to 10 out of 10 to move, we're good. I'm good. I can't wait to go. So I think it's that confidence in the plan, Chris, that you have to keep reiterating this. I mean, nothing that I just said to any real estate agent, new or old, and maybe you new agents don't really know, about home sale contingencies and what they really mean. But don't let this, like the popular opinion or the common thought, oh, that'll kill your deal. What? I solve those problems all the time. We'll kill anything. People want a good price for their house. I have one going on right now, home sale contingency. And I'm saying, look, to my seller, we'll vet this the best that we can, but they're giving you a good number because of the fact that they have to have a simultaneous close. So are we at risk while they go through these contingencies? Sure. You want to put it back on the market and see what else we can get? Sure. Whatever you want, because I'm confident that with this plan, I can get another offer. So, Chris, you with me on that? It's confidence in expression of the plan. Anita, what about your crew?
Oh, we're here. We're having a little debate ourselves here.
Go. Hit me with it. What's the debate? I want to hear it. Think out loud.
Well, we were not debating. All right. So what I was telling the crew was, where you talked about the home sale contingency, I like to tell my clients that, I have your back at all times.
Right.
And that gives them a lot of security.
Sure.
But what we were also discussing is, don't sound like the average realtor, which is don't huff, don't puff, don't sigh, don't say it's a waste of time. I don't want to waste my time. I hear this a lot,
right.
And there's nothing that pisses me off more than a realtor saying I don't want to waste my time.
Yeah, well,
so
you mean to the
that's
consumer?
The conversation
to the
we're having here.
Yeah, do they say it to the consumer, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, no, sometimes, I'll hear realtors tell a consumer if they're making, a lowball offer, oh, I don't want to waste my time.
Yeah, wow.
My theory is write up the damn lowball offer and present it. That's it. I don't care.
Yeah.
There's no room for laziness here.
Yeah, well, the other thing is, look, if we feel that a buyer, let's take the scenario, let's bite. You and I are top producers. We're just going to move the agenda forward. But let's say we have a rookie or somebody that doesn't quite understand at the level we do that those are all solvable problems. The first thing to do is get better at understanding pricing it right for the buyers as well as the sellers. I mean, once you know how to price properties correctly because you've learned that skill and you've dug in deep and you know the product, I think what happens now is you present math to your people. Say, look, I have no problem writing this offer. I'm just looking for the math that helps me support it, and I'm struggling. So you want me to write it at this number. What were you thinking for evidence? Because you see the math here? I'm kind of doing it without a safety net. I'll do it for you. But I would love if there was some math I could send in with it and say, look, we really love the property. They're in love with it, but I just can't find the math to see why it's at this level. I'm doing that right now for a seller. Somebody came in on a 389 and a 439. I have the math that says if this property is in average condition and average location, it's 400. I'm sitting with 389. So all I have to do is show the math and say, look, I appreciate it, where they're at. Problem is, you're pretty far off. He'll knock $5,000 off the asking price so that you can continue the discussion. But if you have math that I'm missing, wink, 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 send it to me. right? So, the nebulous other side of this from a buyer representative standpoint is, well, we looked at this. Well, what did you look at? Show me what you looked at for $389 that had deeded rights to Lake Wequaquet, association tennis, and was across the street from waterfront properties so that no matter what you spend, you're not going to get hurt fixing this property up. So that's how you make a case for the buy side of this thing. So I think, why are we just like panicking? Because you're right. We just get emotional in that moment. We were undereducated and we react like that and we actually hurt ourselves. Be a problem solver through an educated approach. Yeah, go ahead, Anita. What were we going to say?
No, I agree. I agree. I think, you know what, first and foremost, you come from a place of knowledge. You have to know your numbers, whether you're buying or selling.
Right.
And most certainly, it's all about the evidence, whether you're with a buyer or a seller.
Right.
I couldn't agree more with you on that.
Yeah. For rookies, Anita, I think the number one thing they should do is go to the broker caravans. I did that every single week when I first started. I couldn't wait to go see the product, get into the marketplace, see what they were asking for, and then watch them a little bit, see what they actually sold for, and start to look for these formulaic approaches and trends. What was really happening in the marketplace? You can't do this just from some computer looking at, pictures. You've got to go in there. And that's why I said also, the number one thing I recommend to take the planned conversation to people, go do an open house. There's no faster way to talk to real buyers and sellers than sitting in the product and actually having that conversation. So look, I just think what's missing here is we're separate, and this is a digital age problem. The more digital that we get, and the more digitally we're training agents, we're moving away from the physicality of the marketplace. And so we don't understand that. So if we're just looking at numbers on a page and we're being taught, hey, we got a cloud CMA, we can bang this thing out, we can go to Zillow, and we're all guessing. Well, what all the online stuff can't do, that we can do as realtors and will always have the advantage over, what's happening. I can look at your exact condition. I can look at your exact location in the neighborhood, and I can look at the houses where there's a hyper-local market trend. I can assimilate all that and add value to just some digital valuation. That's forever going to be the physical manifestation of what gives us advantage versus a machine. That's why we haven't been displaced by the online algorithm that teaches value. Because albeit it's a helpful thing, it's wonderful. And you know what I would recommend? Go get the Zillow's estimate online. Then go to the house and make the adjustments. Go, oh my gosh, they don't even see that you can see the water from here. Oh my gosh, they can't see that this thing is a dump. Those are all very legitimate ways to get in there and make that valuation really a strength rather than something that, is a weakness, right? Lean in when the dog bites.
Right.
Anybody else have?
I run away.
Yeah, go ahead. Come on, go ahead.
No, I was kidding. Go ahead. You can have others pipe in.
Yeah, well, what about your agents that are sitting there with you? I want to hear their reaction to this. I have a plan, and then to bring forth this universal thing. And I want to go back to what Lisa was saying before. Look, I've never been this exclusive guy that believes I'm trying to pull up the sides of my crib and not let other opinion in. I'm looking for a foundation upon which debate can happen, because healthy debate about the brutal realities of a very difficult business in real estate, we need to always be testing and tweaking to see what the consumer reacts to. So, Lisa, when you say you want to tweak some stuff, now come back to me and give me some examples of what did you mean by that in the context of either of these plans. Go somewhere, because one thing I didn't teach you well enough, obviously, was that I take them through the plan, but then after that, I break out the physical CMA technical analysis and I begin to discuss it. So we go from an overview of the plan, highlighting the areas that they're most worried about. Then we begin the real analysis of the property and that conversation. But they've been empowered to understand how they can affect price themselves with conditioning, staging, and then confidence that my marketing, like Patrick asked, is going to expose them, not just through syndication, and I'm going to throw it on MLS, but a more professional approach to push marketing, moving it around. So now go back into that, now that I've checked that box for you, and say, whether it's the scripting up front or what you say face to face, you tell me what you're thinking you need to adapt.
Well, I think what I did the last time, and when it worked really well because I got the listing, was, going in there first and asking them a couple of the key important questions about how important is it that they get their house sold, what is their motivation level, and then also asking them if I am the right agent for them up front, because we've already supposedly had a couple of phone conversations, right? So I kind of want to get a feel from them where they're at, and then jumping into the whole presentation and explaining to them. My question to you is, so when you're first going through the strategic plan and you're talking about the pricing, do you pull out the CMAs at that point, or do you go through the entire plan like what you just said and then pull the CMAs out and then talk about pricing again?
I have a very particular order to things. When I walk up to any house, the first thing I'm going to ask for is a walkthrough of the property, because that is what I do. I make a market for a property. So I want to know it inside and out through a walkthrough, so that when I sit down to discuss it, I at least have a clue as to where it stands on the radar of above or below average. Always. It also gives me an opportunity to see how the decision makers handle that request. Do both the husband and wife come with me? Does one just sit at the kitchen table and wait for us? What happens? So I'm getting a vibe for the people, which is, to your point, I'm beginning to individualize the plan. So I know that the plan's going to happen, but I want to know the people. So now I get to the table. And I say, hey, again, I just want to thank you for having us over. We really appreciate it. Before I get started, is there anything that concerns you the most about this process? I let them read their minds out loud. Okay? Oftentimes, the answer to that question is, geez, no, I don't know. They get a little bit, deer in the headlights look, because they really haven't thought through this that much, because they don't know what the plan is. So they have some perception, which is the most dangerous thing we leave it to too often. So I just want to have them read their minds out loud. Yep, I'm just worried about marketing. Sure, I just want to know that somebody's going to let me know 24 hours before they're coming. So sometimes it's really simple, or they're completely lost as to what their problem or challenge will be. I just want to know that. Why? Because when I get to that spot in the plan, I want to lean in and say, hey, Lisa, you were asking me about marketing. So you see, now that we've gone through the first, 3 points of the plan, I'm going to lean in here and explain marketing to you a little bit more in depth. And here's how it's affected. Now, I've been listening to you, and now I'm leaning in and I'm taking you there in a very individualized conversation about what was most important to you. So rather than just talk at you and have you surrender, right? See, oftentimes top producers, I had this on a coaching call this week. Oh, no, that's fine. My presentation, what? Do not get your feet stuck in the cement ever. Always be looking at what could be more efficient and effective in these micro areas. Top producers tend to get, or when we win a victory, well, it worked. It worked. I got the listing. Ha ha, Danny, right? Oh, great. Congratulations. I'm thrilled. But I'm not here to let you stand still. You're either contracting or expanding. So when you go through this whole thing, what I've learned is that I will lean in on the plan first, highlighting the solutions to what they're most worried about, and then saying any questions about the plan itself. Because what I'm doing is, rather than asking, am I the right agent for you? I don't know. How would I know that today? Why would I'm a fool if I give you a commitment there without you expressing why you. I mean, unless you've done a tremendous job of follow-up for the last 18 months and there's no competition and you're walking in, you've already given me the plan online, you've given me the plan in conversations, you've been educating me, you came over once to tell me what to fix. Unless that's happened first, I think the consumer's a fool to make a commitment to that, like that, just because you walk in and ask it. And they might just be saying yes out of nervousness and not knowing what else to say. So I think, in my experience, I'm dramatically demonstrating professionalism because I'm detaching myself from what I want and rather empowering them to show them I have a very clear plan that can help you if you're going to listen to me, right? And it's going to consider what's most important to you highlighted. Once that's all done, if you wanted to, do you feel like that plan is right for you? Do you feel like I'm the right person with the right plan? Sure, but what about the price? Great. Let's talk about that next. You see how I start here? So we started with pricing. Here it is. I'm going to break out my information. Now, you see what this says? This says that you could trade in a range from about 95% of your assessed value if you're below average condition to 125 if you're above. Now, you've done a lot of these good things, so that's good. It looks like your value could trend up in this range. Now, I know you told Laura before I came over you were hoping for $575,000. Well, the good news is the range expresses that. In fact, I think you might even be a little bit higher than that based on my math today, and I'll tell you why. So now I'm going to go into that whole thing. But what if it's bad news? Well, look, the challenge here is at the moment, I don't have the math to support this. So I'm going to have to look at some of these with you right now in an absolute sale. Somebody can spend $575,000. Let's look at what that just bought because that's in the comparables. And all I care about is what actually sold. And then you, with me, will determine would we have bought yours? If we were on 2 months ago and that one sold for $585, would we have purchased that one or yours? Let's look at it. Now we open up the hard evidence. And I'm going to let that speak for itself. Let's read this together. By the way, I always have a separate package, Lisa, for all decision makers, buyer and seller. Spouse, partners, whatever I have in front of me, everybody has their own package with pictures and descriptions of what sold. I told Laura today, let's get rid of all the actives. I don't even want them in my CMA. It's a distraction. It's noise. If I need them, then I'll go get them. But I want to see pending because it shows me right around them right now what the trend is, and sold. That's what you're up against. Success. You want to be successful. We need to study that. So now everybody is sitting there and say, look, let's go look at this one on 123 Main Street. It sold for $585. Let's read it. And I allow them to read it out loud and manifest the experience for themselves. Because you know, at this point in my career, Lisa, I could walk in and go, okay, here's what I think you should be. Here's why. But that's not allowing them to have their individualized experience with the universality of the truth. Here's what 585 bought. Okay? Now they're going to argue it and they're going to get defensive, but not against me. They're going to get it against, well, you know, this guy sold for this one, but we have, you know, gold nails in our roof. Or whatever their story's going to be. Yeah, I noticed that. That's fabulous. Gold nails in your roof. I loved it. I've never seen it before. Right? Now we're going to go over to this one and say, okay, let's read this. Okay, so this one had, it had 2-car garage. Good, we have that. They had brand new granite countertops and stainless steel. Okay, so we don't have that. Right? So that's, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm going to bring this evidence to you to show you today what you would have been up against. Okay? This is the reality of what buyers said yes to at this price. So you can see that we have a little bit of a challenge here. You following me, Lisa?
Yeah.
So it's very in-depth at that moment. Very, because I know that's ultimately probably the number one thing by far that people are concerned about. How much is it worth and what will I walk away with? It's the big white elephant in the room. I go right at it. It's number one in my plan, and it's the first thing as soon as I've discussed the plan that I go in depth on, right? But I'm allowing them to have their pricing experience too. I'm not patronizing them. That's where I was going to disagree with you early on. I don't patronize people. Right? I just don't. Because taking an overpriced listing is the number one problem that real estate agents, as they begin to get listings, have. Now, have I taken one before? Of course. Of course. But I say to somebody, look, I know it. You like me. You like my plan. You see the pricing. You get it. But I know something in your soul is telling you you'd just like to try it for a short period of time. I'll take it. But I'm telling you right now, to your face, you are cheating above the math. I will go do what I do with this plan, but you know my plan is effective. And I'm telling you right now, I don't want to hear from you in 2 weeks telling me there's something wrong with my marketing. I'm cheating this for you. Let's see. If we happen to get lucky and catch an updraft in an improving market, then I'll know pretty quickly because people will either be coming or not. See this point number 5? Communication. When I have everything going correctly, the communication with buyers and buyer's agent is happening because they're coming to the house. If I can hear tumbleweeds after marketing, we have the wrong price. Do you understand, right? So now all of a sudden I have them in a position where I'm asking them, do you understand where we are at? because you're asking me to do something based on a lack of clear evidence. There's nothing to support this price based on math. So we're cheating. And the only possibility is that we're catching an updraft in the marketplace. There's limited inventory. Whatever the case may be, we're almost going to have to get lucky here. So don't come back and club me over the head and tell me it's a lack of a proper plan. Can I get that commitment from you? And that is the only circumstance under which there is almost a built-in price reduction conversation. Because you know what people do? They have the law of corroboration or commitment. The minute they commit to something, even though they said, yeah, Danny, I get it. It's not going to be your fault. Go try to get the subsequent price reduction. So I tell Laura, look, we go nose to nose on that one in 2 weeks or 30 days. Period. There's no sending emails and texts. We go nose to nose and we go back to the plan and the strategy and we discuss it clearly. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Questions about that? Because I know I probably stirred the pot there with all that conversation about pricing it right. Anybody want to have a crack at that? Gleba, get off your duff. Get in here. Haven't heard from you all week. Let's go.
No, it's really good just to hear you, how you verbalize it. It's just really very helpful to hear you verbalize what language you use and what it sounds like when you are confident and know the industry well enough that, you know, to hear it modeled is really helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, and Leslie, here's the deal. Again, these are just all problems, but isn't this why we do any business? What if there wasn't the hero of the story who has a problem? And then you enter as the guide with a plan. There'd be no Hollywood movies anymore, would there be? Right? It is the universality and the truth of how a story gets told. There's always, if business wouldn't exist if there wasn't this opportunity, and I'm saying problem in such a hard sense, but there's an opportunity to make somebody's life better. And that's the hero of the story, and that's where everything is screwed up in storytelling. We believe too often that we are the hero of the story. So even if you have a plan that you believe in, or a brand that you believe in, and you come in and you start to make yourself the hero, and you oversell, and there's a lot of, top producers that I think, including myself in the past, oversell resume. Sure, resume is a great indication of potentially how I could do for you. It might be a good indication of how well I know the marketplace. But look, times are changing. Markets are dynamic. Things are always happening, from marketing to communication skills. It's just always changing. So you're either expanding or contracting. So you have to always be in the bleeding edge of that discussion and in the marketplace to add value. So this is why I say, and I'll expose this to all rookies in my own market, if you want to compete against me or other top producers, do your homework. Go into the marketplace. Go search MLS. Everybody pays for MLS and nobody actually uses it to educate themselves. What does the money buy in the last 60 to 90 days? What does it buy? So that when you go to somebody, you're not saying, oh, we'll just send you a trickling of what comes on for sale in your price range. How about all the myriad expireds that happen across the country, even in hot markets? Why am I just going to send you for sales and presume that somehow magically the right price is going to pop up? Isn't that the opportunity to step in and say, you know what? Leslie, the problem is that there are a lot of properties that come on and off the market all the time. What I'd like to do to add value in the beginning is show you what the money bought. But remember, let's go to my plan. I'd be representing you in that case as a buyer. And the first thing I'd like to talk about is, what are you looking to spend that's in your comfort level? Well, I'm cash. Well, great. As your representative, I'll tell you right now that if you're going to make a cash offer, nobody knows you. And as your representative, to make it a stronger offer, I'd like you to get a letter from your financial institution expressing that you have money to consummate the sale. Well, I'm not going to show them my bank, statements. You don't have to do that. Just get something from the financial institution where the funds are so that I can have that ready, so that I can make the case that you're a great buyer for this. Let's be prepared. So you see where I'm going? It's always that understanding of the universality of the process, even when you're a rookie. And if you just cheat towards the question and then its answer, how does the business really work? How does a listing universally go down? I don't care who does it. There is a universal process to selling a house. There's a universal process to buying a house. Now, how we do it with somebody, of course, it's a variable. How they go through the process emotionally, major variable. But universally speaking, if we can keep them inside the guardrails of the plan, then you're going to be able to be clearer that you are the problem-solving guide with a better plan than your competition, and they're going to begin to trust you, right? And that's an earned process, and it's earned by not being all over the place, whether you're a top producer or a rookie. That cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had that level of comfort when I was a massage therapist. People would have injuries, but there was only so many things that could go wrong. You could, after working in it, you would see patterns, like either there's something with the muscle or tendon or bone. That's all that's there, So the patterns showed up. It's just, it's going to be a little bit till we see those patterns just experience
yes.
the patterns for ourselves in real estate.
Yes, but I'm not going to leave you to go get beaten to death until you find a pattern. I'm telling you, as somebody who's done it for a long time, here are some of the clear patterns, the universal truths about this. Start with this as a foundation. Yeah. Don't debate me on whether you believe what I just said at a higher level, meaning the individualization, the script you use. Sure, go wild. You'll get a yes or a no. You'll have perception. Bring it here. But stop cheating yourself of following a universal, or at least an understanding of a universal process. None of us are ever going to change that process. Sure, did digital come in and add time to it? Sure. It discombobulated, but I'm still representing you. I'm still telling you about financing. And now that we have to look at features, sure, the big change is that you can see a lot of them online. You don't have to get in your car and go see this with me, but I still recommend universally you get off the computer, even early on in the process. We go see 3 or 4 of your favorites, so we make that refinement, so when you go back online, you don't feel like everything's starting to look the same. You've made clearer refinements. I hear you. I can get more proactive. I can find that thing, right? So even though there's been disruptions to the industry, have we really changed the way that a human being has to go through these processes? I don't think so. I think it's been discombobulated, but the perception is, and this will open up a whole can of worms that I'm not going to, but this whole perception that we're all supposed to be in this lead gen business is absurd. It's just absurd. We're in the human process business. We're manufacturing a relationship that's a guiding relationship that empowers somebody to make a good decision. That hasn't changed. So we don't have to have the internet to somehow miraculously save us. In fact, I think the new problem solving is saying that can quite confuse the consumer. So our job is to say, look, sure, the great news is we can refine your search. We can automatically send you the stuff, but it's still us that we're going to guide you through this process. That help?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, everybody, look, we're out of time, and I'm going to celebrate my birthday. So thanks for being here and celebrating with me, because I wouldn't rather be anywhere else from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock on Fridays than helping you. But do me a favor. Go out there and stick to the plan, whether you're a rookie or a veteran. Get back inside the guardrails and empower people by giving them the right education on how to protect themselves when buying or selling real estate. And I'm telling you, the rest will follow. All right? Good work. See you guys and gals later on. Thanks for participating. See you on the other side. Bye, guys online. Thank you.